You've dialed the last listing in the Los Angeles telephone directory. ZZZZZZ.
Machine gun, flamethrower, and bazooka. That's an answer for the Z Question Man. And here he is.
Well, that's a deadly answer. And the question is, name 2 weapons and a bubble gum.
2020 Hindsight News. Evan Doorbell reporting. Los Angeles joke line ZZZZZZ, very popular during the 1970s, had an opening sounder whose origin was unknown to us. Until now. Yes, I have located the source of the opening sounder for Z. And speaking of sounders, what the... Those of you who know old radio will recognize that there's something just a little bit wrong with this. My God, it's fake Drake.
More music, WOLF.
Yeah, right. Those 2 jingles, the news sounder and the vocal, are fakes. They were produced by a jingle company trying to imitate someone else's jingles. An example of the real ones would be here.
More music, KFRC. 93 KHJ.
That's the real one. Here's a fake.
WOLF.
Wolf in Drake's clothing, I'd say, but at least the instrumental part doesn't sound like it was recorded inside a cheap garage like the originals did. And now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the real jingles. Sounds like the orchestra's in a garage.
KFRC, San Francisco.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, good acoustics, but...
WOLF, Syracuse.
Who the hell is that singing group? Well, they're not the singers who did the famous jingles that are being imitated there. The real ones have a very distinctive sound, and the orchestra, when present, sounds like it's in a big tin can.
Ladies and gentlemen, the beat goes on.
CKLW, the Motor City.
And that is the real thing. Anyway, the jingle company that produced the fake version of those famous jingles that you heard a minute ago happens to be the source of the Z opener. Here's the Z opener through the phone.
You've dialed the last listing in the Los Angeles telephone directory. ZZZZZZ.
And here is where that came from. Cool. I've only been waiting, let's see, this is 2015, that was 1971. 44 years to hear that? Let's hear it again. The guys at Z did do some editing with that jingle. For one thing, it starts with a timpani, but they used a different one. Here's the original. The Z guys affixed their own timpani roll, longer than the original, to the beginning of that. So they did something like this. Also shortening the last note. You've dialed Z, the #1 telephone number in the world. And then they had others that were edited even further, like this. This is Z. Okay, so now we know. It's Gwinsound, Gwinsound, one of the smaller Dallas jingle firms. And actually, they usually did very good quality work. Imitating the famous Drake Chenault format jingles was not their finest hour. But they did a grand job imitating another well-known Dallas jingle company, Pam's.
New music, more fun.
It's the swingin' one.
WROL 1490. WLOX, the big 149, Biloxi.
Not bad, not bad. That was Gwyn Sound trying to sound like Pam's and doing a pretty damn good job. And they also were able to sound sort of like themselves, not imitating anybody. At least we saw that later on down the road.
WILZ. Oh, hit music. ILS. WILZ.
If you're a fan of jingles, that sounds like it comes out of Dallas, but you wouldn't necessarily know who did it. But that was Gwyn Sound, the company that made the Z jingle, not really sounding like anybody else, but sort of, I guess, sounding like themselves at the time. It seems the whole Gwyn Sound collection is on YouTube at the moment. Somebody's got it out there. The Z jingle is the first cut in Series 14, apparently. Series 15 is the fake Drake package. Gwyn Sound Series 18 is what those jingles I just played are from. And the original jingles for the stations programmed by Bill Drake were sung by the Johnny Mann Singers, not one of the Dallas jingle companies, and I think that's one of the reasons that Dallas had a harder time aping those than it did aping other Dallas companies.
93 KHJ.
That's real.
WOLF.
Wrong.
KGB. San Diego.
See, those are the Johnny Mann Singers, and
KCCL. Sacramento.
no, I don't think so. But this,
WIBG. Philadelphia.
that's the real group, although I have no recollection of that station ever using these jingles. Now that little melody
WRKO.
became the #1 melody for singing call letters, and it's still in use to this day, but most people don't know from where it evolved. Well, here's where it came from.
57 WMCA, New York.
And that's why I know this singing group's sound so well. You can't fool me, because I was hearing those when I was a kid. WMCA was the rock station I listened to. They were just somehow more fun and more organic and New Yorky than the competition WABC. In fact, I didn't start listening to WABC until mid-1968, 1969, when WMCA kind of lost their way, tried some things that didn't really work, and by the time they realized they'd made a mistake, it was too late, and they had to go talk in mid-1970. But by the time I was listening, all the jingles were sung by the Johnny Mann Singers, and as you can gather, the Drake melody is a modification of the WMCA melody.
WMCA, yeah, yes.
Enough trivia. By the way, how do you like my top 40 reverb here? It's not reverb. This is the sound of the space I happen to need to record in right now. I'm on a road trip, and just coincidentally, one of the sound clips that I put to listen to on my trip over was Gwyn Sound Series 14, which I had not heard before, so I played that, and there popped out of the speakers the Z jingle. Now I get to this place, which literally is a converted garage that doesn't have enough furniture or carpeting in it yet, and so it sounds like this. I cannot narrate my phone tapes in this room, but I can do this. Next time you hear from me, I'm going to have better acoustics, but this is a pretty good sounding room if you wanted this kind of a sound. But when I hear the sound of this room, I keep thinking that any second now a van's going to pull up, and a bunch of musicians are going to get out with their orchestral instruments, come in here and start recording something like, "Hey, get a studio, will ya?" If you want to hear the Z recordings, they're at evan-doorbell.com/production. Scroll way down until you see 3 files that begin with Z, and those are collections of recordings of the great Z joke line, recorded by myself, Ben, and Barry from Baltimore in the early 70s.